Okay, I'd like to call this meeting of the HR committee to order. It's, this thing says Wednesday, March 24th. I guess I'm looking at the wrong thing. I believe that it's Monday, March 29th. And under the Nashua School District is holding an emergency meeting pursuant to Executive Order 2020-04, Section 8, and Emergency Order Number 12, Section 3, which means we're Zoom, folks. Another Zoom, right? But we're gonna Zoom out of here pretty quick, I hope. We've got just a few more to go, and then maybe we'll be back to the real world. I will call the roll. Our members that are present are Mrs. Timmons.
Here.
Mrs. Oden.
Here.
And myself. Also present is Dana O'Gara, our HR director, Tara Kinsella, our stand-up professional, and our alternate, Sharon Giglio, and also our chairman, Heather Raymond. Sorry, Heather, I almost omitted you. So nice to see everybody. Are there any questions, comments, discussion, or are we ready to make a motion? We are here for personnel recommendations.
Motion to approve the personnel recommendations of March 29, 2021.
I
Do
second.
I have a second from Mrs. Timmons?
I second. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear. Are there any questions, comments, concerns, discussion?
I do have a comment. I want to wish Miss O'Gara the best of luck in her new position. We will be sad to see her leave. She's been here a long time. So I wish you the very best of luck, Miss O'Gara. We'll miss you.
I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna miss you all.
Come back and visit. And I know you're gonna miss us so much.
I am.
Well, job well
Those
done.
5-hour meetings.
That's what I was actually thinking, Sharon. But I think that Mrs. Oden speaks for all of us. We appreciate your commitment and your loyalty and the hard work. Those are always appreciated. And those are the things that make this district great. I continue to believe that our personnel are absolutely and I also believe we have the best in the state. We'll have to get another best. But
I'm
anyway.
sure she's going to miss those 12 and 14-hour days that she puts in far too often.
Yeah.
How could anybody possibly?
In my heart. Nashua always will be in my heart.
Oh, that well. So are there any comments about the personnel recommendations? Anything about the anything at all? Seeing none, I guess I'll call the roll. Mrs. Timmons,
Yes.
Mrs. Oden,
Yes.
and I also say yes, and that makes it a unanimous. Having said that, do we have anything else that we want to query our beautiful HR director with before she leaves?
Yes, I have a question. Are we sending the teachers back? This question is from Miss O'Gara. I'm still shocked over the fact that I just found out you were Lisa. I guess there go the myth that I was really close to you. I guess I wasn't that close. Well, anyway.
I have to tell my boss first.
You have to tell your boss first what?
I have to tell my boss. I gotta tell
She's
the boss
leaving.
first before you can tell anybody else.
Oh, okay. I heard it when everybody else heard it. I mean, I just thought that I was just stunned, really stunned. So my question is, are we sending the teachers back after they received their COVID shots, or how's that working out? How's that going to play out?
So after teachers are fully vaccinated and have completed the waiting period of the 14 days, they should come back to work in person. We are sending out a letter to all the ones that are on ADA, telling them that we're happy you're going to come back. There may be some that still have to stay out. They would have to get a doctor's note, but for the most part, we are expecting just about everybody back in person.
Okay. That was my question.
Yes, we got a slew of emails today, the parents wanting them to come back to class. Mrs.
Yeah.
Raymond.
Thank you. Just to clarify, to make sure I understand, the teachers had their first opportunity to have the first shot this weekend. So then they have to wait 4 to 6 weeks to have a second shot. And then they have a 14-day waiting period.
I believe it's 3 to 4 weeks. I want to say the Pfizer might be 3 and Moderna is 4,
Okay.
and then 2 weeks. But
And then
some
2 weeks.
people have already been vaccinated.
Right.
I
So
was.
some people are already fully vaccinated.
Today was my 14th day since the second shot. So today I went out to lunch to celebrate.
Oh, congratulations, Mrs. Ziem. So, but
We're just sending out a letter saying, hey, you know, after you get your second shot and you have your 14 days, we're expecting you back in person.
do you know how many teachers and staff members took advantage of the clinic this weekend? I know some were already qualified or were able to schedule it themselves before it, but do we know how many staff members took advantage?
I don't know. I didn't have the roster, Stacy, and I think Derek, the assistant business administrator. They had the list. It was a big list, though.
Okay.
I don't know how many were on that list.
So I'm just thinking of staffing levels, and like, I don't think a few teachers are going to make a huge difference, but if we have a large number, we're still looking at 4 weeks for shot 2, and then 2 weeks after that for the waiting period. And so at least 6 weeks
So
before we
look
would
at
expect
total-
a large influx of staff members to qualify to come back.
Yeah, I think
Assuming
Dr.
they don't have some
McKinney-
other ADA reason to stay out.
I think Dr. McKinney may have better stats on it because he had Gabby working on it.
Okay.
So I think he was, there is at least over 100 people, I would guess.
Okay.
So Dana, I have one other question. So the time frame we're talking about, okay, we had this weekend, so this is the end of March. So we go April, and then 2 weeks out of there, that puts you in the middle of May.
Mhm.
Are we looking at that time frame for
Yeah,
teachers to come back? Okay.
Yeah,
Mrs.
I don't know
Raymond,
how many had the Pfizer. They would be 1 week ahead. So probably, yeah, very first 2 weeks in May, I would say. And some people, like I said, some people are already fully vaccinated and they're happy to come back to work. I'm coming back on this day. I'm all set to go. So it's
so
really
Mrs.
nice.
Raymond, I was going to ask you, did you check today to see where we are on how close we are to the motion? You remember we made the motion to go, that they would go back to school when those things were met, when I think there were 3 of them.
Yeah. Wait, what do you mean, to go back fully?
Yes.
Unfortunately, Nashua's numbers are creeping back up,
Oh,
which is not good. We're still fully in the red in one of the metrics, which is community transmission rate, which interestingly is the one that's most tied to transmission in school. The higher community transmission rate, the higher your school transmission rate, lower and lower. It's, I don't think that they're causal, but they're correlated. And then our 7-day positivity rate is back up to 7.3 today, I think, and it had been down in the 3s. And we said if 2 were in red, like that was we had to have at least 2 in the green. So we're
still in red now. Do you know of? Let me just check.
I think only 1. Hospitalization is not being marked. So only community transmission is in the red. And then the, the 7-day test positivity rate is in the green or the orange. I think green.
so if
But
that red, if the one that is in red goes away and we are indeed in green, they'll immediately, is it my understanding or our understanding, what will happen?
Our motion didn't say anything about that. Our motion was just to go back hybrid once we met the 2. I would like to hear from Dr. McKinney and the principals on staffing levels before we make that motion, especially if we have 100+ staff members who have ADA and can't come back until they're fully vaccinated and have the waiting period. I don't want to set us up for failure. So
One of the things I was, go
don't
ahead.
know.
one of the things I was going to ask for tonight, and maybe I missed it in my packet again, but they used to give us a report. You know, we got the wonderful report on the elementary kids and how many were in each class, but we used to get one on the high school and the middle schools, I believe, but definitely I remember the high schools because it had to have been a work of art I mean, it was quite cumbersome and quite convoluted because you know how many classes we have in the high schools, and 2 high schools.
Mhm.
And so I would respectfully ask if they did one of those, and I just missed it because it was it was interesting to see the flux in the different class. I mean, you would have classes with 3 or 7 very small classes where they had to have the class to get some kind of thing that they were headed for to get into the school where they were going. And then you had other ones where they were very, you know, like 30-ish or more. And so it was just interesting to see. And in this, and I think it would be interesting for the parents to see that, because then they would understand better the complexity of having the small classes where you can have 6 foot. You know, I don't think that they were always aware of how difficult it would have been for us to go back because of some of our, when you have 37 kids in the classroom, how do you keep them all 6? How do you space them like that? I don't think you can. And so I just think that sometimes it would have, if we'd have been able to give them a better idea of some of the complexities of the issues that it brought about, but certainly it's not.
And I think it varies school by school as well, as you were saying, class by class in the high school, but also Elm Street, even at 3 feet apart, that's very challenging with some of the classes there. And then if you look at like Bicentennial, for example, where 72% of their students chose remote. So they only have so many staff available because a large number of their staff are now attending to the needs of those remote kids. And I think we have to continue to be respectful of those families who probably have some sort of
High risk
situation where they don't want their kids to go back yet. I don't know.
I think Mrs. Jiglio was right when she said that we could have suffered losses anyway, but we could have suffered, if you compare human life or human health to learning, you can catch up. I mean, I'm not saying it's easy, and nobody would ever say that, but I do think she was right in that we could have sustained greater health and loss of life issues if we hadn't done what we did.
So I think it's a worthy conversation to continue to have with Dr. McKinney, and I know he's working with I'm sorry, my oven's going off for everyone else to have dinner. For him, I know he's continuing to work with the assistant principals, the principals and the assistant superintendents on the kind of the thorny question of how to manage that. And again, I think that Nashua has been good about, we've been cautious. We're trying to put everybody's best interests in the forefront. It's a struggle, and it's a struggle for everybody across the board.
Yes, great struggle.
So I don't know that there's one right answer that fits the maximum number of people.
And I didn't add that Dr. Andre joined us. I'm sorry, I didn't mean not to acknowledge you. We're certainly happy to have you with us. And if we hurry up, if we have nothing else, Heather might be able to grab a piece of ham or cheese or something to eat before we start the meeting. Of course, you won't be able to talk because your mouth will be full of food.
Right. So I'm sorry I got us off track.
No, that was a good track, though. It was, I appreciate the answers.
I don't recall if y'all took your vote yet or not. So let me mute myself. And get out of the way.
We did. We took our, the personnel are all approved. There weren't that many, and it looked, when you don't know them, though, it's not always as easy to pick up things that you might know. That's why I think it's wonderful to have teachers and people who are familiar with all the different players. Okay, so do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
So Mrs. Oden says, Ms. Timmons, how about you be first? I'm sorry.
Yes to adjourn.
Oh, she seconds and she says yes too. And Mrs. Oden?
Yes.
And I say yes. So we are adjourned at 5:45.